Welcome to the Hello Sunday podcast with me, Nikki Hayden. This is the podcast that discusses everything self-development, spirituality and sobriety. And it wouldn't be me without a little sprinkling of humour. Whether you are just starting out on your journey of self-development or have been exploring these topics for years, are completely alcohol-free or just curious about living a more sober lifestyle, this is the podcast for you. Each week, I'll be exploring topics in both solo episodes and with some amazing guest experts. So if you like what you hear, then please subscribe, rate and review. So with that said, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, welcome back if you have listened previously, and welcome if you are new and this is your first episode listening. It is so good to be back this week. Apologies that there wasn't an episode last Sunday. If any of you follow my social media, follow the podcast's Instagram, you will have seen that I did post saying that I had tried to record an episode on Saturday. But actually, when I listened back, there was like a weird noise in it and it wasn't the normal quality, guys. So I didn't want to put it out there, and I just felt like that was probably the universe's little nudge telling me just, not this week, because I'd actually been really poorly all the week before. So we're not going to harp on about the negative. We're not going to talk too much about that. But yeah, the dreaded C-bomb, I won't say the word and give you all PTSD, but the dreaded C-bomb struck me down for a good week. I was out of action for a good week. So I'm back now and I've got a great episode this week. So this week we're going to be discussing manifesting. And manifesting is definitely one of those words that when you say it to people, they either get really excited and they really resonate and want to know more, or they kind of roll their eyes and just think that it's a load of woo-woo bullshit. So, in its rawest form, manifesting literally just means bringing thoughts into life, bringing into reality anything that you can think about. So it's a word that means just that, literally just that, bringing about into real life what you think about. And actually manifesting can be, anything that you have seen, touched, experienced at one point was a thought in someone's mind. Your car, that was once a blueprint which came from a thought that an engineer or car designer had. Your laptop, your phone, the house that you live in, everything that we experience, see, feel is all it's all a manifestation. It's a thought that has been brought about into reality. So yes, I think that the word has been, I was going to say abused. I don't necessarily think it's been abused, but it's definitely been kind of diluted or made into far too many quotes and memes. I'm probably guilty of posting a lot of them myself. But in its rawest form, that is literally what it means. It just means thinking about something and then bringing it about into thought. Now, that isn't to say that we're going all Uri Geller and, bringing our thoughts into reality just by the mere thought of it. I'm sure that in the future that is something that will be able to happen, but we're not there yet. But it means, having that thought and then taking the action to bring it about. Now, the law of attraction and attracting things to you by being in the right energy is something that is part of manifesting, but the two often get like mixed up and used interchangeably. And actually, whilst the law of attraction is a huge part of manifestation, the two things are different. So the law of attraction is basically using energy to attract things to you, to being in the right alignment to attract things to you, whereas manifestation is actually, you know, the art and the science of bringing about things into reality. So the LOA is part of manifesting. So I guess from a law of attraction perspective, and we'll talk about kind of like energy and attracting things a little bit more in a little while as part of like the process. But the law of attraction is something that we've probably all witnessed. We've probably all seen it, even if we don't kind of live our daily lives by it, even if it's not something that you practice and subscribe to kind of daily. You'll have had those bad days where, you know, you've woken up, you've got out of bed, you've stubbed your toe, you've burned your breakfast, you've dropped your coffee, you've already running late to work, and then there's traffic, and you get to work and you just think, what the fuck? Like, why is this day just a sequence of negative events? And similarly, you'll have probably had situations and days where just everything just seems to be going great for you. You know, there's no traffic on the way to work. You get a free coffee from the coffee shop that you stop at. You get into work and, you know, a big project's been done for you, or you've been given an amazing new project. The things just continue to roll and flow and just happen in like the best way. And equally, sometimes then you might think, God, this is a good day. Like, I wonder why all this stuff's happening. You actually tend to, well, I certainly do, tend to think of things, like, tend to question things less when they're going well than when they're going badly. That's just human nature, I guess. But we all have had those days. And I'm sure we all know people as well who, they're just like negative energy, and they seem to constantly attract the drama and constantly attract bad things happening, or there's always something. Whenever they text you, it's always a drama or something negative that's happened. And likewise, those people that are just absolute rays of sunshine that are, you know, constantly having amazing things happen to them, or, you know, people who have always got money, or they've always got amazing businesses that just work and flow and, you know, seem to be successful. And this is all the law of attraction. This is all about energy and like attracting like, and you being in the right energy attracts the things that you want, and you being in negative energy tends to attract things that you don't want. And again, and this is probably getting into the woo-woo side of it for some of you, but if you listen back to the episode about gratitude, which I think was episode number 3, that I briefly touch on kind of alignment and energy and actually vibration, and how everything within the world is a vibration. Everything has a vibrational energy to it. You can actually measure this vibrational energy. And actually, negative emotions and negative experiences will tend to vibrate at the same energy. So if you're vibrating at, or you've got a low vibe, then you will tend to attract negative things, and you'll tend to notice all the negative things versus the positive things. That's a whole other episode in terms of energies and vibration, but this all plays into manifesting, and this is something that you need to get your head around in order to be able to successfully go through all the steps to manifest what you want. So energy, alignment, vibration, and being in the right energy and the right vibration to attract things is the law of attraction, but that plays a massive part into the steps that we're going to go through today. So the ways that I would manifest and the steps that I would go through. I mean, there's whole books and processes written about this, you know, The Secret. There's a book called Ask, Believe, Receive. There is Manifest by Roxy Nafousi. I think she has a 7-step process. So I'm just going to go through today the steps that I use and things that you can do within those steps. And then I'll give you a couple of examples of kind of how it's worked for me, things that I've manifested. And yeah, it'd be great to see if you are doing this, if you're trying it out, what your success stories are. So the first step is decluttering. It's making space. It's creating space and you know, I guess a gap for whatever you want to come into your life to be able to. Now, Sophie Waddington, who has the Positive Pig podcast, she was my guest on the last episode. Her most recent podcast episode is all about this. So if you want to go into more detail around this, she's got some great examples, and I'll probably do an episode on it in kind of, you know, later down the line. But at the moment, she's got an amazing episode about that. So if you do want to listen to her podcast, the link is in the show notes for the last episode. And yeah, her most recent episode is all about decluttering. So decluttering can mean physically. So it can mean physically clearing out your wardrobe, clearing out your, you know, your personal space, maybe your bedroom, your bathroom, your kitchen, etc. It can physically mean creating space. It could mean digitally, so it could mean clearing out your email folders or your social media or your files within your laptop. If you've had like a laptop for years and years and you're starting a new business, you probably don't want all the old shit from all your past jobs that isn't relevant still stored on your computer. It could mean, and this is probably one of the more important parts of decluttering, mentally decluttering. So getting out all of those kind of like thoughts and beliefs and limiting beliefs and things that mentally clutter your mind out onto paper, out into a journal, maybe talking them through with a therapist. There's loads and loads of ways that you can mentally declutter. But actually, if your mind is full of like, you know, all the things that you've been worrying about and all the limiting beliefs and everything that's just going round and round in your head, and you want to start a business or enter into a new relationship or, you know, start anything new or attract anything, that is going to have an impact on A, your energy, and B, your ability to kind of, you know, mentally put energy into this new thing. So decluttering, making space is a great first step. And there's a book called Fuck You Chaos, which I'll actually link in the show notes because I think, unfortunately, Amazon and the bookstores don't like the fact that it's got the F word in it. So when you search for the title, it sometimes doesn't come up. I know on Audible it's the same. So you have to search the author's name. But I'll put that in the show notes because we recently did it in our book club, and it was such a great tool for going through kind of that process of like decluttering your space and creating, you know, mental and physical energy for things to come into your life. And it's almost like, you know, if you want to attract, I don't know, a new partner, and your house is absolutely full to the rafters with your clothes, with all your shit, you know, there's not a single ounce of space for that person to come into your life and maybe, you know, have a drawer or live in your house or whatever it might be. You know, you do need to physically declutter some stuff, you know, just as a basic need for that person to be able to fit. But then actually mentally, if you're carrying all the old beliefs and insecurities from past relationships and you're not actually mentally healed or there yet, you need to get rid of all that shit before you can entertain that new relationship. So that's the first step, decluttering. The second one is to be really clear on what it is that you want to attract. And there's a really, really good, it's a very cliched kind of example of this, but I am going to use it because it's the one that resonates the most with me. And when I heard it for the first time, I was kind of like, oh yeah, that's true. I've never really thought of that. And it actually plays into a later step as well, which we'll talk about shortly. But the point of being clear is there's no point in you going into a restaurant and saying to the waiter, oh, I just want some food. Or going into a restaurant and saying, oh yeah, I want a salad, being a little bit more specific, but not quite specific. You need to go into that restaurant and say, I want smoked salmon salad with egg, and I want this sauce on it, and I want avocado, and I don't want any croutons. The chef needs to know specifically what they're creating for you. And it's like ordering a steak, you need to know whether you want it rare, medium, or well done. So you need to be really clear on what it is that you want. Now, sometimes I know people really struggle with knowing exactly what they want because they're really open to how that might look and how that might, there's kind of different ways or different opportunities, different options that they're considering, which is absolutely fine. Like when we bought our house, I wasn't mega clear on the location, but I knew I wanted like some nature really close by. I knew I didn't want it to be too far away from the city centre. Like I wanted a suburb, but I didn't want it to be like, 40 minutes away from the city centre because my husband works in town, and also, coming in and out to meet friends and stuff like that. It just makes it easier. But I didn't know exactly to the nth degree what details I wanted in this house. I knew how many bedrooms we needed, and I knew, I wanted something fairly modern, but I didn't want a complete new build. But just writing down exactly what we wanted, in those elements made it a lot easier to find what we wanted and to attract what we wanted. So being clear on what it is that you want and actually having the feeling of what it is that you want. So if you know that you want a relationship, but maybe you're not bothered about, the hair colour or how tall they are or what they do for a job, but you know that you want them to have drive, and you know that you want them to like build you up and to be your biggest champion and to maybe, support your goals and be family orientated. All of those things are really important. You don't necessarily need to, you could do if you wanted to put down, specifically what they wanted, what you wanted, but you don't have to be, to the absolute detail. But I think knowing how you want it to make you feel and putting as much detail and clarity into knowing what you want is so important, because I've heard stories of people that have like wanted a baby, for instance. In fact, one of my friends and coaches, Gina, I remember her telling us a story how she visualised having a baby in her house in Manchester, but she missed out some of the details. Most importantly, the fact that it was her baby. And then the next people that rented her house, because she has it on Airbnb while she lives abroad, had a baby, literally gave birth to a baby in her house. So the manifestation came right, it came true and came to life, but it wasn't quite how she'd imagined it. So yeah, being clear and being like, knowing what you want is really important, as clear as you can be without it being forced. So that's the second step. For those of you that are regular listeners to the show, or maybe you know me personally, you won't have been able to get away without hearing me talk about Simprove. Simprove is a scientifically backed, water-based probiotic drink. You drink it daily and it has been scientifically proven to help with things like bloating, IBS symptoms, pain. It was actually a dietitian friend of mine that introduced it to me last year, and I honestly wouldn't be without it now. It's helped with my energy, with my bloating, it's helped with my immune system, and also things like my skin. The list is honestly endless. Now, I have got a code for you. So if you'd like to try Simprove, you can get 50%, that's a massive 50% off your first 3-month subscription by going on to simprove.com and putting in the code Nikki50. That's NIKKI50, or clicking the link in the show notes. And then the third step is really connecting with your why. And this why needs to really, I'm in kind of two minds about how I phrase this one, because I was going to say it needs to not come from ego. Now, it's absolutely fine to want things that are materialistic, to want a flashy car, an expensive handbag, all that sort of stuff. But for me, the best and the easiest manifestations have been when they are things that haven't come from ego, and that there's been a deeper reason to why I wanted them. So my business, for instance, yes, I wanted to be, financially more secure and to work my own hours flexibly. But a big reason for that was so that I could, be back in Birmingham if I needed to be. And that actually did happen recently when my nan was really poorly. And I wouldn't have been able to easily do that in employment. I also now work with, real kind of purpose-led and values-led and ethical brands, which I wasn't doing so much of when I was agency side. So there was underlying kind of, core reasons why I wanted to do this that superseded just the financial aspect. And I think that's why it materialized and manifested a lot easier than if it was just, I want £100,000. And likewise, if you want money, again, that's fine. But what are you going to do with that money? What is the real underlying reason why you want that money? Is it to be able to support your friends and family? Is it to buy, a nice house so that you'll have better security and you can raise your family in it? There could be loads and loads of reasons, but having a real clear why and really connecting with that why is really important. And that feeds into the next step, which is all around kind of belief and visualization. So I've kind of put these two together because for me, you can't visualize something properly without having the belief that you can achieve it and that you can do it. But also, I do think that visualization is one of those things that is so, so important to be able to do. I mean, there's literally scientific and neuroscience backed evidence to prove that actually visualizing something, and we're not just talking about, broad manifestations, things like sports people who actually do visualization really, connect with the outcome and see themselves running the race or playing the match or, whatever it is. There is science-backed evidence and actual neuroscience that states that when they do that, they are way, way more likely to have the outcome that they want. Equally, there is a lady called Carol Dweck who has a book called Mindset. Must admit, it's not the most riveting book that I've ever read. However, she is I think she still is, she was at least a professor of psychology at Stanford University in America. And she's universally known for her kind of work on mindset. And, she states that belief that you can do or have something makes it way more likely that you will be able to have or do it. And remember when you were a kid and you used to just have like that unwavering belief that you could have or do something? Like, you know, kids literally think they can be superheroes or, you know, famous YouTubers or sports players, and they don't have these limiting beliefs that we learn and accumulate as we go through life. They don't have the apprehension and the doubt and all of these, you know, reasonable expectations that society puts on us. And that's why I'd always encourage you, if you have children or you're, you know, around children, or you ever encounter kids that have these like massive dreams and big goals, don't ever say to them, no, that's not realistic, or that's not something that you can do, even if it's literally flying to the moon, because people have done that. And, you know, why not? Why shouldn't they believe that they can do that? Because if they believe that they can do it, even if what they desire to do changes as they go through life, you want them to have that belief for as long as possible, because society puts so many limitations on us and so many expectations on us as adults that, you know, that kind of gets knocked out of us. So having that belief that you can have or do it, and actually not needing to know how as well, is really important. And again, this will come into the kind of the final piece of the puzzle, which is all about kind of letting go and surrender. But it's not up to you to know the how when it comes to this. It's not up to you to work out, you know, how this is going to come to you and how this is going to happen. There was a girl in the Facebook group that I'm in yesterday, and she was saying that she wanted a house, and I think they were putting down a 5% deposit, and it was 15 grand. And then they just happened to stumble on this other house that ticked every single box, was absolutely phenomenal, and was, you know, really, really, their dream home, but it was double the deposit. So they needed 30k and they'd only got 15k saved. And she ended up manifesting the other 15k. And the majority of the reason that she believes that that was possible was just because she literally visualized herself living in the house. She put it on a vision board and looked at it every day. She had absolutely no reservations whatsoever that that house was going to be hers. And that is the level of belief that you need when you really want something. There's no good you thinking, well, I'd like to have it, but actually I don't think that's possible for me, because what energy is that giving out? What is that putting out to the universe, that you kind of want it, you really do want it, but you don't think you're going to be able to have it? Like, why would the universe help to co-create with you if you're only kind of 50% of the way there yourself? So really having the belief, and then visualizing every single aspect that you possibly can. And like I said before, you know, you don't need to know into the nth degree exactly what it needs to look like, but having that ability to visualize, and to at least, you know, if it's a new home, walking through it, what does it smell like? What can you see? How does it make you feel? If it's a relationship, what are you doing with them? Where are you? How do they make you feel? You know, if it's a new car, imagine yourself sitting in it. What does the interior smell like? Where are you driving to? What freedom will it give you? These are all things that we need to be able to do in order to really visualize ourselves having or doing what it is that we want. So there's a lady called Dr. Tara Swart, which is spelled Swart, and she's really interesting because whilst I'm quite spiritual, I really have to have not even evidence, but I need to understand kind of at least the basic neuroscience of what, you know, how this all works, and it not just be something that someone throws out there to me and is like, you know, go and do this, because I want to know why, I want to know how it works. And granted, we do not know anything, you know, literally probably a tiny, tiny tip of the iceberg is what we at this point in human evolution know about what's possible. But what we do know, about visualization and manifestation is definitely rooted in science, not only from the perspective of vibration and energy, but also in neuroscience and neuroplasticity. So when you visualize something that you want to do and that you're going to do, so a sports race or lifting a certain way or winning something or giving a speech or public talking, the more that you can actively visualize that and really, really practice that consistently, the neuroplasticity in your brain will change, and it will actually create new neurons that will allow. It's almost like it's already happened, because your brain doesn't know the difference between something that hasn't happened and something that has happened when you visualize it so clearly. So just to give you a little example of this, if you close your eyes now and you imagine yourself walking into your kitchen and walking over to the fridge. So imagine the fridge, imagine what it looks like. And you grab the fridge handle and you open the fridge and you take out a lemon. And you go over to the worktop and you place the lemon down and you grab a knife, whether it's in the drawer or on the side, wherever the knives are in your kitchen. And you take that knife and you slice through that lemon. And then you take the half of the lemon and you put it up to your nose and you sniff. And you can smell that lemon juice. You can smell it. So it's a really fresh lemon, really juicy. And then you're just going to put the lemon to your lips and you're going to take a small bite of that lemon. And you can taste what that lemon tastes like. Unless you've never ever tasted lemon before in your life, you will have been able to imagine your fridge and, the sights and smells of your kitchen and being able to bite that lemon. Now, there are some people that can't visualize. There are some people that when they close their eyes and you ask them to visualize, they just get black. And they tend to use other senses, like kind of just smell and like general feel. But somewhere in your body or your mind, you will be able to feel and sense and be able to bring to life what it is that you are wanting and visualizing. And that is rooted in neuroscience. The more that you do that, the more likely it is that you're going to be able to have that thing. So that's number 4. And then number 5 is probably the most important of all, and the one that everyone that thinks that this is all woo-woo bullshit doesn't think of, doesn't, understand. It's the action. You have to take action. There's no point in just visualizing and thinking about something and not taking action. Now, I have got an example in a moment of where this, in fact, I'll tell it you now because it works. It, it links into what I've just been saying. But there is an example of this where I haven't taken action, or I thought I hadn't taken action, but actually I had taken some action on what it was that I wanted to bring about. So you have to be able to take, and when I say take action, if it's a business, register the business name, make a LinkedIn page or a business card, or, whatever you are doing and whatever sector you're in, you need to be taking action to, let the universe know that this is something that I want. So it could be that you want a baby, you want to have a baby, and therefore I would, obviously take the action that we all know you need to be taken to have a baby, but also things like, buying a baby grow as a symbolic kind of item to signify that, this is something that you want. Start taking the right vitamins, start tweaking your diet, exercising more, whatever it is to get your body into the best health. If you want a new house, maybe buy a key ring that you're going to put your new key on. Start looking on Rightmove, maybe go and visit some houses, look around houses, even if you don't think that they're going to be within your current price range. Like I say, it's not up to you as to the how. This is just all about taking, symbolic action. And so the story I was going to tell you was when I was in Ibiza. No, sorry, it wasn't in Ibiza. It was in the Bali retreat. And if you've listened to the first episode, you'll know that I went to a Bali retreat at the end of all the shitty relationships that I'd managed to attract. And I was kind of like just done and ready to do the work. And at that retreat, we were sat around the dinner table one night and we were talking about books and self-development books. And I was like really, really new to all this at this point. It was like 2018. It's almost been 5 years, actually. It was October 2018, and we were sat around the dinner table, and we'd all been having some dinner, and we were talking about self-development books. And the one book that kept coming up from the girls, and some of them were like way further in their self-development journeys than I was one called Light is the New Black by a lady called Rebecca Campbell. And I'd never heard of this book, and we were talking about it at great length. And I wrote down in my phone the book title, and I completely forgot that I'd done that. It wasn't something that I was like constantly thinking about, but we'd been speaking about it a lot, and I was like, I really feel like I should get this book. And I wasn't going home for like another 5 or 6 days, so there's no point in ordering it online because I wasn't going to be there. So I wrote it down in my phone, completely forgot about it, or as the next step may suggest, surrendered. And anyway, we did this retreat and we were doing like energy work every day, and we were clearing limiting beliefs, and I was having the craziest dreams, letting go of like all of this stuff. And it was just honestly the most incredible experience of my life. Anyway, fast forward a week and I get home, get back to my flat, and the day before I'd got home, my parents had come around just to make sure that like I'd got like the basics in, like milk and stuff, and then also to put any posts that I'd got upstairs. So I walk into my flat, walk into the kitchen, and there's a bunch of posts on the side, and as part of that post there was a package, and I open this package and it's the book. It's the book that we were talking about on the retreat. So I was like, oh, okay. My first thought was, that's sweet. I didn't know any of the girls had got my address, but it must have been one of them. So I posted in the WhatsApp group and was like, oh, did like one of you girls send me the book? Everyone was like, no, it wasn't us. So anyway, I posted on Facebook in the end because I was really confused as to where this book had come from. And the girl that I had bought my flat off, who like I knew from we used to sing dance school together years ago, but like she wasn't like a close friend. I'd never ever told her about this book. I'd only learnt about it on the retreat, and I'd been in Bali for 10 days. So she'd sent it to me, and obviously knew the address because she used to live at the flat. And she sent me this book and just put, she wrote back saying, oh, there should have been a note in there from Amazon. I just thought that it was something that you'd like and that would resonate with you. And my mind was blown. I was like, what the actual? Like, it was just mad. I can't tell you how that felt to have received that from someone that was not privy to those conversations, had no idea. And it was only when I was thinking about it, like loads later, that I realised I had actually taken action by writing it down. And don't get me wrong, like you can take action by actually buying the book. And that is, I guess, a manifestation, in some ways. But the kind of like miracle, mind-blowing manifestations that I'm talking about today are those where it's not an easy reach. You can't just go and order it, or you can't just, you haven't just got the money sat there. That there's a way that this comes to you that is not one that you would have normally thought of. So taking action, going to see the house, setting up the business, doing all the stuff that you need to start the process of having a baby, It could be anything. Money. If you want to manifest money, you need to be doing, all the money mindset work and taking the symbolic gestures of keeping cash in your purse. And I'm going to do a whole other episode on money manifestation because there's a lot of other things within that. But taking action is something that you absolutely need to do. You need to let the universe know that this is something that you want. And then the final piece to the puzzle, and like I said, this is probably for me, or has been for me, the most difficult, is letting go and surrendering. And this means, and again, I'm going to refer back to the restaurant example, but that analogy of ordering your food in a restaurant, once you've been super clear with the waiter or waitress and told them what you want and you've put your order in, you don't keep going into the kitchen to check that it's on the way, do you? If you've ordered something online, you might get a tracking to let you know it's on the way, but you won't keep going onto the website or keep calling customer services to ask when it's going to be here. You just accept that order has been placed and the thing that you want is on its way. And it's the same with your manifestation. If you've done the decluttering, you've done the being clear, you've done the belief and the visualization, you've taken action, you've done absolutely all of those steps, you absolutely have to surrender to how it's going to come to you. You have to give up but I've only got 15 grand in my bank account and we need 30 for the house, but I haven't got the qualifications to go into this career, but I've been told that, I'm going to struggle to have kids, or whatever it might be. There are, so many ways and means that things can come to you or can appear and can, I've heard crazy, crazy stories of things happening. And like I say, that book example, I would never in a million years have thought that, Sophie, the girl that used to live at my house, would have ever sent me a book on Amazon, especially the book that we were talking about. So you have to surrender and let go. And the best way to do this is to say, I want this or something better. So you're not surrendering to, well, I don't care if it happens or not, but you're not so attached to the outcome that you're pushing and pushing and pushing and constantly, it shouldn't feel like it's pushing water up a hill. You shouldn't feel like you're trudging through mud with it. It should be let go of, and the timelines let go of, and you just accept that it will happen when it happens and that it is for your highest good. And that might be that you don't get the house and that you feel like shit and you're devastated, but then you'll realize that a better house comes along. Or it might be that you don't get the job, but actually a much better opportunity comes along, or you get the opportunity to travel, whereas if you'd have taken the job, you wouldn't have been able to do that. So whenever I've looked back at my life, I've realized why things have happened and why, things have panned out how they've panned out. And you just don't see it at the time. So surrendering to this or something better and allowing things to happen as they, need to play out and need to happen is so, so important. And I've got a really, I say interesting story. It's quite a normal kind of manifestation story in that it was how I manifested our house. But the house that we're in at the moment, we were in a flat before through COVID. I had a flat in Birmingham, as I've just mentioned, and my now husband, then partner, was renting a flat. And obviously COVID hit and we had to choose what to do. So I came up to Leeds because I was working up here, and we stayed together in his flat. And not gonna lie, it was in a really dodgy area. We had some horrendous things happen. People graffiti in the front door and throwing rocks at the window. Someone was murdered on the street. So yeah, it was bad. And so we knew that we wanted to move house, but it was 2020. So house viewings were, few and far between. And we didn't really know what area we wanted to be in. I just knew how I wanted the house to make me feel and to, to kind of, to make me feel and to make us feel and what we needed for it to support us. Anyway, long story short, I kind of outsourced the initial looking of houses and finding of houses to a friend of ours who was, he loves doing that stuff and he's got a good eye for it. And I kind of gave him a loose brief of what we wanted, and he sent me a few things through. And at first I said no to this house because it just didn't, it looked really plain and cream and boring. And I know you can paint and stuff, but I don't know, it wasn't giving me the vibe. But anyway, I scrolled back through a few days later and I thought, you know what, actually, I think I'm missing a trick here. Let's have a look at this house. And when I looked at it, I'd missed a couple of pictures of like the outside, and it got like a gorgeous gate. It's all surrounded by bushes. It's just, really pretty, felt really safe. It was in a nice quiet neighborhood. So I said to my husband, right, I want to go and look at this house. I don't want to go through the estate agent process. I just want to go and knock on the door and look at it. And that alone was, looking back, a highly symbolic piece of action and gesture to the universe that we really wanted this house. So when I knocked on the door, and anyway, the guy wasn't around. His car was on the drive, but he wasn't there. So we left, and I went through the normal estate agent process, and they were like, yeah, we've got quite a few viewings, we're not sure if it's still going to be available, but we'll book you in. Anyway, when they booked me in, it was the owner himself that was doing the viewings. And anyway, we got chatting, and it turns out that the sector that I recruit for in like consumer products, he works within. So he was also doing the house up to sell. So it was something that he, had renovated. So it was actually a beautiful house. And the way he done it out was super nice. We got on really, really well. And because of that, we exchanged numbers. So when it came down to the offer process and kind of going through the process of, getting the house, it was a lot easier than if we were just going through the estate agents. But there was a couple of issues. Well, there was a lot of issues, actually. The actual finding the house and, putting the house, putting an offer in was the easy part. My partner at that time had got, poor credit history. So we were told that we couldn't get a mortgage together, and the house was out of the range of what I could have got on my own. We then managed to randomly, through a conversation with somebody, I don't know how it happened, managed to find a mortgage advisor that could get us a mortgage. And then the process, because it was COVID, of getting that mortgage approved was so long that we almost lost the house. But during that time, I was doing personal training sessions just down the road from this house. And every time I'd have a PT session, I'd drive around to the house, I'd look at it, I'd imagine us living there. I put it on my vision board. I kept in touch with the owner. I was just doing things all along to help it along, to do that act, take the symbolic gestures and the action, but not to push it to the point where it felt like, trudging through mud. And yeah, we ended up getting a decision. I remember being on holiday and being told that we could get the mortgage, which was a miracle in itself. Being told that, our offer had been accepted, we could get the mortgage. And then there were other issues along the way from the seller's side. His house fell through and all sorts happened. But yeah, I think because I just released the outcome in terms of I really wanted the house, but we were also like, look, if it's not this one, then, so be it. And also because I'd constantly taken action, I'd visualised, I hadn't just kind of like gone there once and left it alone and left the estate agents to sort. It was just a much smoother process than it could have been. It could have been, we could have ended up losing that house very, very easily. So that to me was a pure manifestation. And actually when we moved here, we realised that on our door there's nature. The house itself feels very good energy. It's not perfect, it's not our forever home, but for now it's exactly what we need. And we've actually now got friends moving down the road from us because it's such a a nice and up and coming area. So I think, with manifestation, it doesn't have to be pure miracles. Pure miracles definitely happen. I know someone, for instance, who manifested having twin girls when she was told that it was twin boys at the scan, and then they called her back like a day later saying, oh my gosh, we made a huge mistake. And all she wanted was girls. And there's so many of these stories that I'd be here forever, but miracles happen, magic happens, but manifestation is something that we are doing every single day, whether that is for the positive or for the negative. So, creating good energy, being in good energy, believing that you can do it, creating the mood that you want, the vibe that you want, believing, visualizing, taking action, and then just letting go. Everybody can do that if they want to. And you'll find that those people that seem to just attract the positive stuff all the time are doing this day in, day out. They are, letting go of the things that don't happen for them, knowing that something better will happen. And yeah, if you watch them, it always does. It always does. So it's been quite a long episode today. So thanks if you've stuck with it and listened to my dulcet tones this whole time. But I'm really passionate about this subject. It's something that I really, really believe in, and it's absolutely changed my life. And I know that if it's not something that you're already practicing, it can and will absolutely change yours too. So if you've got manifesting stories, please share them with me. I love hearing from you guys. And yeah, if it's not something that you're already practicing, then please do start and let me know how you get on. And equally, if the stuff that I've said today that you're not sure of or not clear on or don't understand, then please just drop me a message either on the podcast Instagram, my personal Instagram, or the email address, which is at the end of the episode. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I am going to get some more guests on, I think, for some future episodes. So keep your eyes out for some guest episodes, whether it be on, self-development topics, or we're going to start touching back on being sober curious and sobriety as well at some point in the near future. And as always, if there's any topics that you want me to cover, please do get in touch and let me know. So I hope you all have a great week, and I will hopefully be coming into your ears again for the next episode. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at HelloSundayPod, or you can email us on hellosundaypod@outlook.com. Have a great week.